the choices that Twitter makes when it chooses to suppress, edit, blacklist, shadow, ban, are editorial decisions, pure and simple. They're editorial decisions. In those moments, Twitter ceases to be a neutral public platform and they become an editor with a viewpoint. And I think we can say that about others also, whether you're looking at Google, whether you're looking at Facebook, and perhaps others.
Well, there you have it, Donald Trump reiterating the difference between being a neutral platform, like a bulletin board, or my favorite example, like a phone booth, versus being a publisher with editorial opinions, who is legally responsible for their conduct. Joining us now via Skype is our friend Allum Bokhari, a senior tech correspondent for Breitbart.com. Great to see you again, Allum.
Hey, Ezra.
Hi, you and I have been talking about this very subject for years, really. Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act. And when I first heard of this, I thought, what's communications decency? That sounds like a law about obscenity or pornography, and indeed it is. But it's the source of the immunity for tech companies. If they just behave neutrally, no one gets to sue them for publishing a bad thing if they did it in good faith by accident, right? So that was the source of their legal immunity that's probably worth billions to them because they're just not sued like a newspaper is. But if they're going to start acting like a newspaper, they're going to be on the hook for it. That's basically my takeaway. Is that your takeaway from this executive order too?
Absolutely. The thing to understand is a social media platform can't really function without this legal immunity because they'd have to assume legal responsibility for what millions and billions of users post on their platform. That's an impossible legal risk to take. So it would destroy social media companies' very business model. So you'd think they'd be especially keen to preserve it, and yet they're now, with all the censorship we've seen over the past 4 years, they're now acting like publishers who do have legal responsibility for what they publish. So they're threatening their own legal immunities, really. That's central to their business model. And I think that's why this has been a huge focus for Republican lawmakers and indeed Democrat lawmakers as well, because they know this is crucial to the way the internet works right now. The problem with it is that, in my view, not the legal immunity for hosting content, that's defensible, but the law also contains legal immunity for taking down content, something I don't think they need because they do that in a much more limited number of cases than compared to what they host. What often gets lost in this debate is the fact that I don't think social media platforms or tech platforms need to censor anything that's First Amendment protected, even obscenity. So, Google, when it still believed in free speech, had, going way back to, the very start of the company, has had a safe search option that you can voluntarily turn on or off if you want to filter out obscene results. So these platforms can very easily develop custom filters for any kind of content you can imagine, and then leave it up to users what they want to filter in and filter out. The reason why they haven't been doing that over the past 4 years is because they want to control information. They and other progressive elites realize they're losing the public debate, they're losing elections, and that unless they clamp down on free speech, unless they get back control over the flow of information, like, the good old days of cable news when, MSNBC and CNN filtered everything that, Americans got to hear, then they're going to continue to lose. They can't win on the basis of facts. They can't win a fair debate, so they have to censor public debate instead.
That's a great point because, of course, you still can find indecent or obscene things on the internet in a hurry. And you're right, that safe search or parental lock or these things are available if people willingly take them or want them, and a lot of people do. I mean, there's a lot of parents want to put filters on what their kids see. But this is about Google executives putting filters about what grown-ups can see without the grown-ups choosing it. I mean, the choice of YouTube, or sorry, in this case, Twitter, putting huge warning alerts on Donald Trump's political opinions is so far removed from communications decency, and it's so ham-fisted. I got to ask you this. Allum, you and I were always saying, when is the president going to do something? And I thought he never would. It's almost like Twitter wants to pick a fight, and boy, they've picked one now. Is this part of a strategy by Twitter? Because I mean, they're doubling down. They're having blinking lights and flashing buttons and hiding things and rebuttals, and they're even being snarky. There's a little Twitter public policy team that's being snarky to Trump. What's their strategy? I'm just shocked by how brazen Twitter is. I think they think they're bigger than the president of the United States. I don't know. Maybe they are. What do you think?
It is brazen, and they're still doing it today. They hid another one of Trump's tweets about the riots in Minneapolis, falsely claiming he was glorifying violence. He was simply saying that, if the looting and riots continue, then military force will be used. Perfectly valid statement for a head of government to say. Meanwhile, they haven't done anything similar to tweets from Ayatollah Khomeini, for example, encouraging, acts of terrorism in Israel. So that there's no sense of fair standards here at all. And, going back to what you were saying earlier, these companies are harsher on valid political speech than they are on actual obscenity. And that should tell you something. I personally think that everything should be optional. If they insist on, having these stupid categories like hate speech and fake news, you'd think that at the very least they'd allow users to choose whether they want to filter that in or filter that out or not, and yet then they don't. And the reason for that is because they want control now. These are not the free speech platforms that they were 10 or 15 years ago.
That's an excerpt from my daily show, the Ezra Levant Show. Every day I do a monologue on the news of the day, then I interview an interesting guest, and then I read my hate mail. You gotta subscribe. Go to rebelnews.com.